composition's pretty static. Okay, now I start out, so now I've kind of got a grid knowing where my thirds are, and I've got another pretty bad photograph to work from. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down here, looks like about a third of the way down is my horizon line. Now generally I try to put my horizon line on, before I do anything else. It just, see, now I have a major area and a minor area. I've got dominant and subordinate areas. And I keep working, I try to keep working with thirds as much as I can. Now, I see in this photograph where this slope comes down to the center of the canvas. Now what I'm going to do, I'll start this slope up here, and I'm going to bring it across to the other third over here, to the left-hand third. Now I'm going to come in here, this mountain, you can see it cuts in, cuts across here. There's a little jump to it there, but it gradually it's moving away from the viewer. So it's coming down, the perspective of it is coming down. Now I've got all these trees over here on the right. Let's see here. So, and there's just a jumble of unreadable values in here. So what I'm going to start here about the third. I know I'm going to want a tree about the right-hand third. So I'll just stick that tree. That's this tree right here. There's another tree next to it. See, I'm just suggesting the shapes. I'm not. There's another tree here. I'm just going to do a little bit of a forest here. I'm looking at these shapes in here. I'm not really looking at. I'm trying not to look at the trees. I'm just looking at the shapes that are building up over in here. This is my foreground verticals. Now, one of the things I'm going to do with this one too, there's a little bit of a stream. You can see a little bit of water you can barely see in the photograph. So this little stream is coming around here, and it's coming down in front of these trees, coming off to the side. So I'm going to bring it more down here just a little bit, make it a little more graceful. So there's and there's another tree over in here, and I think it's kind of important. Since I got this big mass over here, I'm going to move this tree over here. It's going to be smaller. So I'm going to put it out further. So this is be like teeter-totter with somebody really heavy on one side is in closer to the fulcrum being right here. Then this little tree is further out. See, there's only this little distance here. So this little space can balance that big space. Okay, so there's basically my drawing. I want to get this little thing out of there. That was just an accident touching my brush there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is mix up some cool green. I'm taking some cool mud, some cool blue, and a good rule of thumb is always you mix up twice as much paint as you think you'll need, and then use all of it. Part of an oil painting is the textures you leave on the surface as well. Okay, so I'm going to start right here with this kind of dominant tree right here in the foreground, and get this guy blocked in, and maybe this one here. And I want to have a lot of interesting, since this, I want to have a lot of little interesting windows through these trees, so I'm purposely leaving some of these little spots in here. And I'm getting it right over to the edge. But see, over here on the edge, I don't want to have a lot of attention over here. I want to kind of bring the viewer out into here, kind of out into this area. Maybe I'll put another little tree right into here. Get a little thicker paint on that. Okay, so there's my foreground verticals. Now, there was that diagonal mountain going up the side, and it's also tree covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some white in that and a little blue in that. I want this to be whiter, lighter, and bluer. The things that are standing, the atmosphere washes out the value, and it also kind of adds a blue tint to things. And I did put a little, just, and when I'm going back with these blues in the background, one of the things that I found is if I put just a tiny bit of red in it. I don't really want it to look purple, but if my background trees start to look a little anemic if they don't have a certain amount of red in them. So again, it's an intuitive thing, and it's not, you could look at this, you can't see the red, so you really can't see the purple. It's just hidden in the color that I've used to give the color a little more body. So there. Now see, up here, you can't see what's back there and back here. This stand of trees right here is actually darker than any of this. So there's no sense of atmosphere, which what I'm giving you down here is you can start to see that lighter color is going to start to move into the background. So now what I'm going to do, now I'm going to the above the tree line again. So I'm adding some red and blue and white. And let's see here. I want to make sure that when I get down to here, now see, actually my purple, I put more white in it, but it actually looks darker. So I've got to add more white to that. Always test your color. Just see, if I started up here with that color, by the time I got down to here, I would have found out it was the wrong color, and then I would have to go back and correct that whole mountain. So see, if I get down here and see it actually touch that color down there, I can see that this purple I'm putting on for the mountain is lighter than this mountain going up the side over here. Okay, so now I'm going to start going up this way. Another thing I can do now, see this mountain up here, I want it to come towards the viewer. So what I can do, I'm adding a little bit more blue and red to it. I still want it to be purple. And I'm going to make it a little darker as it comes over here, just so that it appears as though it's coming towards the viewer. Okay, so there's my, and then I kind of forgot to put, I've got to put my dark in here for this little guy. Now I'm going to have a little harder time putting that in because that lighter color is swallowing up some of my paint. It's really hard to put dark colors over light colors. Okay, so now I've got my foreground verticals, my midground verticals, and my background verticals. So now I'm going to go down here to the ground. So what I'm going to do now is it looks like I need some yellow and some blue. I want this to be kind of green, but it's got areas of red. There's some orange hues in here. So now what I want to do now is I'm going to make sure that my ground is lighter than the purple in my mountains. And I can take that valley on back across there. And I want to there's a little bit of that ground down here below the trees. And then down here, fill in the rest of this. And down here in the very bottom, it looks like there's actually quite a bit of red. So, I can, as long as I get the value right down here, I can do pretty much any, I have a lot of leeway to play with color as long as I've got my values correct. Value is way more important than color. Now on this one, I'm going to add a little bit of complication, but I'm going to put a little river right along there. There's a little bit of water streaming along there, but I'm going to do that after I put the sky in. The next thing I'm going to do is put in the sky. And I've got to get a really, really clean brush to get my sky in. So now the sky, again, I'm going to start down at the bottom of the sky with warm blue and white. I'm going to, so just warm blue. On my palette, that's the Viridian. It looks really green on the palette, but I put a little bit of white in it, and it really takes on a real nice. It's like teal blue light. I'm just going to bring that across. Okay, and now let's see here. Yeah, this. Okay, Now as I go up, I'm adding a little bit, just a little bit of cool blue as I go up. And I don't want to touch, I don't want to touch my mountain with this color. When I come back to put the mountain back in, I can touch the sky. But if I touch the sky, or if I touch the mountain right now with the brush with the blue in it, there is so much white, it's such a light color, that anything I touch is going to translate back up into the sky and make a dirty sky. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, see, I usually don't put the water in until I put in the sky. The water has no color of its own. It takes all of its cues from the sky. Now the first thing I'm going to do is come down into this area where I want the water, and I'm going to put in, I'm taking the color of the trees and I'm putting vertical brush strokes in. Okay, then clean my brush out again. Now I'm going to take, see, as I'm looking at the water, it's reflecting the color of the sky at the bottom of the sky. So what I'm going to do now is take my warm blue and white, and now I'm going to come back, I've got probably a little bit of that water right back here on the other side of those trees, and then I'm going to come out, might curve back in, I'm going to bring it, the thing about the water, really work hard. You're putting your water in, water has to lay flat. So I'm putting this water in with horizontal brush strokes. And I want to kind of cut across these little areas here where the reflections of the trees. So now I've got just a little too choppy here. I'll just reestablish some of these reflections in here. And then I'm going to go back in, get a little more texture here with my shoreline. Do a little more shaping here, and I can actually put we have a little darker areas here where the opposite shore is standing up, and then if I want to, I could add a little white to this. Put a little. I'm getting a little carried away here. I got to stop, but put a little lighter area here so there's some bare land next to the stream. Okay, now the next thing, one thing that's going to add some complication to this particular painting. Now you can see that the snow on those mountains. I'm going to put that in now, and I'm going to put it in with some cool blue and white. Snow is another one of those things, people see it as white. Snow doesn't have its own color. So what I'm going to do here, right up in here where this slope starts, I'm just taking cool blue and white. That was a little too light, but And see, one of the things I like about this Liquitex, it sets up fairly fast. So I'm able to get back over that purple paint with some of this, with this blue, without digging up too much of that purple underneath. And I think there's almost a glacier effect coming down to the valley floor. So. Now see, I can do a lot with this with warm and cool colors and all that, but the object of this is just to get a value study. See, now I've got the sky done, but I had to leave that little halo of, I can't touch the mountain with my sky color. But now that I've got the mountain color, I can come back and shape my mountain. And if I drag some sky color down into the mountain, it just becomes a highlight on the mountain. If I drag this sky color into the sky, it looks like a dirty sky. Get that. Okay, now, I've got all of that done. Now it's just a matter of coming back in and refining my trees just a little bit. I'll start with that. And I'm just, try to finesse these trees a little. Don't reach into your symbol system and do a Christmas tree. One of the things you can do, you can practice when you're painting from photographs. Practice reproducing the shapes in the photograph. Don't believe the photograph when it comes to value and temperature, but you can use the photograph as a way to get yourself to see the shapes and reproduce the shape instead of you don't want to paint your symbol of a tree. You want to paint a real tree. And doing these little exercises is a good time to start getting those. And the way to do that, there's only one way to do that, and that's just to develop the habit of doing it. And I'm just about done. I got to come over here, get a little more of this done. And see, now one of the things I can do just to kind of dress those trees up a little bit is I'll take a little bit of yellow, cool yellow. It's because I'm using cool colors because I use cool colors on the block end. And then later on, when I come up with the next pass, I'm putting the light source and stuff in. So the last little thing I'll do, I'm mixing up a little bit of my cool yellow, cool red, a little white, and I'm just going to put the hint of some trunks. And these tree trunks, I know that a lot of my students have real problem with these because they'll end up pushing the brush too hard against the canvas, and it flattens and makes the tree trunks too wide. So what I do is I get in the color and I keep turning my brush over and over and over. I flatten it so I have just this knife edge, and then I barely touch the surface. If I put any pressure at all, that's going to widen. So let's see, I think I want to do just one more down here. And then see, once you've got those trunks in, you can, add a few branches here and there. And that really goes a long ways to getting the viewer to think you're a good painter. They see these little things and they don't see smudges of paint, they see branches. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of break up, let some of that, I want those trunks to kind of come and go a little bit. So. Okay, so there's another value study. How does that look on the top? Okay, I think I'll... Now, the thing to notice now is, look at the photograph. Up in here, the photograph is completely washed out. You can't see anything. The dark in the mountains over here is way darker than this stuff. So this actually is closer to the viewer than this. but still you believe it because it's a photograph. If you really take care to develop your value system and see, then you have depth. I don't have all those mountains painted really accurately and stuff, but I could take it to that level. But this is just a little study. So I got my darkest values are these uprights in the foreground. My next value is these trees and these foothills going back through here. My third value is this mountain, and then another value with the snow coming onto it. But this is a sub shape of this greater shape here. So darkest value, second value, third value, fourth value, fifth value. You keep stepping up. If you keep following this and just get used to doing, about 5 or 6 steps to get all your values in, working from foreground verticals to background verticals to horizontals to sky, getting lighter each time. You'll eventually get in the habit of doing that when you're doing larger paintings. You get your atmosphere, so you get your large canvas to this stage where the whole canvas is covered with paint. You know what the atmosphere is. You can step back and you can see the depth. Once you can do that, then go to work finishing the painting and adding all the warms and cools and all the detail you want to put in. But get it to this point before you do any detail.